Now, if you look at the E46 M3 from here, it looks mint. It looks, well, you could pass it as a half-decent car. It's only when you get a little bit closer you start to notice that, well, it needs still a lot of work. Now, after finding this E46 on the side of a racetrack abandoned, we've done a fair bit of work just to get it to this point right now. And actually, on camera from here, it looks half decent, if I do say so myself. I've changed the headlight lenses, I've changed the front grille and the badge, the wheels and tyres have been replaced, and more importantly, underneath the bonnet, I've done the rod bearings, I've changed the steering rack, and we've uprated the engine mounts as well. And it's looking really clean. I'm starting to really like this car. Now, despite all that work, we've still got a lot to go before we achieve anything close to a restoration of the E46 M3. But that was all obviously reflected on the price. I knew what I was getting myself into when I bought this car. I mean, just look at the interior. And I'm pretty sure this E46 M3 suffers from every common problem an E46 could possibly have, and some more. Now, the main reason why this E46 was taken off the road or the track was because where the subframe mounts to the boot floor, it's got a crack in the boot floor, and that's obviously completely unsafe to drive, and it's only going to get worse. It's a really common problem for all E46s. And no pun intended, but that's what we're about to crack on with. But there's a few more little fixes we've got to do before we get to that stage. So let's crack on. Okay, so there's a few issues with the front of the car before we start moving to the rear of the car. First issue is this. The bonnet, well, it doesn't close at all. So these little things here and here are supposed to go into the latches, which are down here. So these rusty old things here, these were the latches, and those pins in the top of the bonnet, that's where these go into. Now, these got seized shut, which means my bonnet was seized closed. Now, we did manage to get the bonnet open, and I've since got new bonnet latches. So let's install the new bonnet latches, and we'll start off easy, and then we'll get to the more difficult stuff. Okay, in classic Matt Armstrong fashion, we have another issue. So these are the bonnet latches ordered off eBay. They look pretty much the same. The only thing is you can see the spring on that side is on the right hand side and the spring on that side is on the left hand side. So these ones actually need to be pulled from that side to release the bonnet. So these ones are for left hand drive, and well, these ones are for right hand drive, which I've got, and obviously the bonnet cable runs that way and into the cabin on that side, and on a left hand drive car I assume it runs that way and into the car. So well, first fail of the day. But we're not going to let that spoil the day. We've got something even easier that we can start off with, and that is the front arch lining. There was nothing wrong with the old arch lining, apart from it was absolutely caked up in tyre, being that this E46 M3 spent its whole life on the track. So this new plastic arch lining should just neaten it up a little bit in the wheel wells. And there we go, looking a lot smarter. Okay, new arch lining is in, and the good news is that underneath the car, starting to look okay actually. Now, when I first bought the E46, all underneath this car was one big, just massive oil leak, and we even had power steering fluid leaking out of the rack. But since we've changed it all, it seems to be all good and holding up, no oil leaks at all, which is good news. So I think finally we can put the under tray back on the bottom of this car and call it a day for the front of the car. I think it's looking really good. There's a few little things here and there that we need to touch up, but we'll get to them. But the problem is, the main problem is with the rear of the car. But let's put the front wheels on first. Next up, central locking. So when I put the key in, turn it left, right, it does absolutely nothing. It's not locking, it's not opening. If I go to the boot and do the same, it does actually unlock the boot, and it will actually lock it as well, which is good. Now, the actual BMW key needs a new battery. Now, BMW don't actually want you to replace the battery in these keys. They want you just to buy a complete new key and get it reprogrammed, because these keys are actually glued together. Hence why this one is all taped together, because I've had it apart to change the battery. But it still doesn't work. But I know the central locking works, because when I press this button, the doors lock and the doors open. So the central locking actually does work. And after a little bit of research and some help from friends, we found out that a common problem on the E46 is any model, the door actuator tends to go, and that could cause the whole central lock-in not to work. The door actuator is inside this thing here, and that needs to be replaced. They're only a cheap part, but to get to them and change them, we've got to take the door card off, which brings me on to the next fix. So I thought, whilst we're taking the door card off, we might as well strip the whole interior. Pretty logical, right? Now, we're not going to be keeping this interior. It absolutely stinks, and it's had years of hard wear. So I just thought it'd be better just to buy a complete new one, and in a different colour as well. And also, if there's going to be any welding from underneath the car at the back, we need to remove the interior anyway to stop it from burning from the inside. Now, the interior was actually pretty easy to remove. Even the carpets were easy to remove. Which reminded me of something else which is really simple and easy. Building a website using Squarespace, who have sponsored today's video. From websites to online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build and run your business. Adding 2 turbos to my Lamborghini has made it quicker and way cooler. Just what a website could do for your business. Check this out. Anyone could create a website using Squarespace. Look how easy it is. There's loads of templates to choose from. Once you've got your template, you can go in and then edit and change whatever you like. You can drag and drop your own photos in there, and already it's beginning to look like my own. Only thing missing, a logo. So simple and easy to do. Click where the existing logo is on the template and then just upload your own logo. Another cool thing is I can switch between mobile view and desktop view, which is really handy nowadays. And then on the left hand side here, there's a bunch more of marketing and analytical tools. It really is that simple. So when you need a website, go to squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, use code Matt Armstrong, and that's going to give you 10% off your first website or domain name. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Back to the interior. So we are now interior-less. This whole interior has been completely stripped out. I've still got to get the carpet out on that side, but we're going to leave that for now because we need to crack on with something else. So the door actuator, which is here, which we're going to be changing to hopefully make the central locking work, comes out using these 3 bolts here, and then it will come out like inside there. But that hasn't turned up yet, so we're going to have to leave that for now. We'll carry on with the interior later, and yes, I'm just going to be replacing the whole thing. This is going to be absolutely mint when it's done, but for now let's leave this because we've got to crack on, no pun intended, with the rear subframe. So really we haven't really fixed anything just yet, but hopefully from now we might be able to start fixing things. Now this boot floor cracking is common in a lot of E46s, and people are charging £3,000 upwards to do the job, and most of that is labour, but I'm about to attempt it myself, and you're about to see why most of the job is labour. First off, the exhaust has got to come down, and that exhaust is real heavy. God knows why there's so much water in it though. Then all the plastics underneath have got to come off, and the heat shielding, and the suspension struts are next. I've got to remove the prop shaft so I can drop the diff and the whole rear subframe down. So I undid the bolts from the prop shaft to the diff, and then the prop shaft to the gearbox. And then I can finally lower the thing down. The next thing that's connected it to the car are these 2 handbrake cables, which run inside the car just here. So we've got to lower the car down, get inside, and then disconnect the handbrake cables from the actual handbrake lever inside the car. Then we can go back underneath and pull the cables out. Next up is to disconnect the brake lines from the rear calipers, and then we can start to lower the rear subframe. There's 2 bolts each side of the rear trailing arm, a couple bolts at the rear and a couple bolts at the front. Now the way I'm going to do this is lower the car down, support the subframe with a trolley jack, and then start to undo the final bolt whilst lowering it down to the floor. And it's off. Okay, so you know how we thought it was a hairline crack? Well, we were wrong. So these are the studs that the subframe sit on, and well, check this out. You can see how big the crack is, and this thing, it rocks all over the place. And then same with this one, look how big that crack is. And it is rocking everywhere. Now this is all got to be cleaned up because there's going to be plates which would go over the top of these and then weld just to strengthen them, just so it doesn't happen again. But because we're welding in this area, this is the fuel tank. It's not a great idea, so we might as well drop the fuel tank whilst we're at it. God knows how I'm going to put all of this back together, even the interior, I just don't know, but we're past that point of no return now. So fuel tank's got to come off, then we can begin to clean all the underneath of the car and start welding this thing. So when taking the fuel tank off, make sure it's empty. It makes it a lot easier, else this happens. I've just ate fuel. It's in my mouth. So I'm still tasting fuel and smelling the fuel right now. But it was all worth it. The fuel tank came off, and then I could clean up the cracks in the rear boot. And then I could clean up the cracks in the boot to fully expose them, ready for welding. And this crack was actually unexpected. This was on the rear. I didn't even notice it. As you guys may know, I can't weld at all. So with some help from friends, the cracks got welded up. So there was cracks on the boot floor at the front of the subframe here. Now the welder's been, and he's just welded up those cracks. They've got to be grinded back down because there's going to be plates which go over that to reinforce it to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Now, on the rear, there's a huge crack which ran all the way up here, all the way back down here. Again, there's going to be some plates which go over them to reinforce it as well. This has all got to be grinded back down flush as well. And then also there was a crack in the chassis there. And there was also, this part was also splitting in this sort of boot floor as well. This has all been welded up. Now the reason I'm stumped right now is because the welding plates, the little reinforcement plates that go over the top of them, they've not turned up. I ordered them 10 days ago and they've still not turned up. So what I didn't want to happen was that the M3 gets stuck in the ramp with no subframe on because I now can't roll it on or off. Well, that's happened. So hopefully those brackets turn up tomorrow, but we wouldn't have been able to put it all back together today anyway, just because, well, these bushes in the subframe, well, they're absolutely gone. So we're going to replace them for some upgraded PowerFlex ones before we put that all together. We have got some more jobs to be getting on with. So the boot floor and pretty much the most of the back of the car looks like there's moisture which has got in here, and well, it's absolutely disgusting. This needs to all be grinded and then painted. Then we've got a new interior that we can put in the front before the back gets welded. So this was actually pretty satisfying, cleaning up the boot of the car. Once it was painted, it looked so much better. And the moisture had got into the rear seat, so I painted that as well. Then I could start putting together the front side of the interior. I've got some new black carpets to replace the grey carpets. I've got a new gear knob to replace the old worn gear knob. And it illuminates as well, just like the original one. And there's little bits like this which make the difference. The window switches are quite worn. You can just pull these out and replace them with new ones. They're really cheap and I've just got them off eBay. Then it's just the fun of putting the whole front of the interior back together. All the clips, all the electrical connectors, and all the nuts and bolts back in. But the back of the car is looking much neater. And look at that gear knob, I'm well happy with that. But there's one thing that's letting it down at the minute at the front, and that's the steering wheel. It's pretty worn. And what do you expect when it's done years and years of driving around a track? So I'm going to remove the steering wheel and replace it with a new one, or a brand new second-hand one. First off is the airbag to remove, undo all the electrical connectors on the inside of the steering wheel, and then the big nut connecting it to the steering column. The new steering wheel doesn't come with the plastic, so I've got to take the plastics off the old steering wheel, which was easy enough. And here is the new steering wheel. It's another M3 steering wheel. I wanted to keep it all OEM, but this one is in much better condition, and it was only £40 off eBay. And there it is, looking fresh. It's got the M Sport stitching on the centre, and it looks a lot better than that old one. Next up is the passenger side door card. You may notice as well that this is black. I think it looks a lot cleaner, and it's actually got uprated speakers in this one. And then the rear carpet as well. This is also black, which looks a lot better, in my opinion. And there we go, the interior is smelling a lot fresher and looking a lot fresher as well, if I do say so myself. We're finally getting somewhere, check this out. The interior is looking so much better now with this black carpet instead of the grey. We've got the new steering wheel. It could do with a bit of a clean, but it's in really good condition. A new gear knob as well. Yes, it illuminates. And black door cards. It does smell like paint in here because, yeah, we have painted all of the rear. So it's looking less rusty back there now. I still can't fit this door card because I still haven't got the door lock actuator, and we need the door card off to change the door lock actuator. So we're waiting for that. And I still can't fit the rear of the interior because because there's still going to be welding done from underneath, which might heat it up and set it on fire. And I still can't fit this center console because we've still got to thread the handbrake cables through. I bought a full black interior, carpets, door cards and everything of a 2002 M3. Look at the condition of it. It is really good for a 2002 car as well. And this was only around 700 quid, which I think is absolutely mint. So that's still yet to go in. Now the welding plates for the rear still haven't turned up, which is annoying, but I'll tell you what has turned up. I've got a bunch of parts from BMW, including the bonnet locks and the bonnet pins now. There is loads of just little bits in here that we need for the M3, and I got them pretty cheap because I used my discount code MAT15 when I bought them from Sitner BMW in Leicester. I'll put a link in the description if you guys want to get any genuine parts from BMW for a fairly decent price. So next up is the bonnet locks, which go in there, and the bonnet pins, and then there's just loads of little random bits that we've ordered from BMW, like the caps for these, and then also like the engine wiring loop tape instead of the electrical tape, which would just look nice and original when you open the bonnet. Let's get on to it. Now, I'm almost 100% confident that this is definitely not the way to fit these bonnet locks. I think you have to take off the whole front end, but somehow I managed to wiggle them out this way, so I'm going to wiggle them back in this way. There's only 3 bolts which hold them in each side. And then of course you have to connect the bonnet cable up, which connects to these bonnet latches. And the other side of the cable goes inside the cabin. Once they're on, I can put back the cold air feed and do the bonnet pins which are underneath the bonnet. These didn't really need replacing, but they just look a lot nicer if they were replaced. And there we go, nice and fresh. I've even replaced the tape as well. Okay, moment of truth. If I shut this bonnet and it doesn't open again, I'm going to absolutely lose the plot. It took me at least 2 hours to get it open when it got stuck shut last time. Here we go. Will the bonnet latch open it, please? Oh yes! Get in. So some big progress, but still a fair bit to go on the M3. I would have liked to have got that back on there because I have a full brand new exhaust system ready to go on the E46 and I can't wait to hear it. But unfortunately the postman has let us down today, so we're gonna have to hold the progress right there. But in the next video we might actually be able to get this out on the road and drive it for the first time, and with a new exhaust. If you enjoyed this video guys, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.